very happy to be here. Thank you for having me along. Definitely appreciate you guys putting in such event where people from all around the world and not just North America can connect together and learn about new technologies and how market is evolving. Because as Gene was saying, everything started in the 80s and is building layer after layer on top of that. And part of my presentation here will be discussing how the technology is changing and what do we think is the next big step. A few things about myself. I worked for NavVis for 5 years as a sales rep representing the Northeast of the US, doing business development and some marketing. NavVis itself has grown in those 5 years from about 45 to 320 employees, I believe. So we definitely see that the demand for LiDAR, laser scanners, and everything that has to go with reality capture is growing rapidly, which makes us very happy because it's not just NavVis that's growing. All the other companies who are in the space are growing, and we're very happy to see it because we are growing together, both on the hardware side and the software side. So my presentation today will show how things are changing and what we believe is the key to unlocking a true LiDAR potential. As Gene was saying a few minutes ago, where in 6 or 8 or 9 years, everyone will be using LiDAR, probably without even knowing they're using LiDAR, because it's going to be so seamless working in the background and helping us with so many different things, so many different niches of our lives. So where everything has started, with the release of digital total stations, then in early 2000s, we started seeing first static scanners coming out. They're great tools. Most of my clients, besides NavVis scanners, of course, have static scanners like Leica, Faro, Trimble, ZNF, and the most popular brands, and they provide terrific data. You can scan a building, achieve great accuracy. The only obstacle that our founders in NavVis saw was the speed of capture and cost of the marginal unit. When you look at any technology out there and how it's evolving, when we look at cell phones, everything started with a brick in a suitcase where you would pay per minute. So making a phone call as a teenager was pretty expensive to me, and my dad would get at me a lot that my bill was too high or sent a minute text. And right now we are unlimited. We pay a small fee a month, and we can download pretty much as we want, because I never go over my limit. We can call as much as we want. We can text as much as we want. The same with internet. In the 90s, we had to pay per minute of dial-up, and the internet itself, maybe there were some telecom companies that were making more money, but the industry in general was so small, so niche, nobody wanted to use it. And the cost of each megabyte every year was coming down. And this allowed to build more and more solutions on top of the internet, creating social media platforms, photos, videos, everything like that. When we talk about laser scanning, as long as the cost of data acquisition per square foot remains high, the industry will be small and locked in for the very selected niche of people who are working with it, because some use cases are just economically not feasible to deploy when the cost of scanning per square foot is high. When the cost per square foot gets lower, the industry explodes, because the value added on top of scanning is where real benefit of the scanning is. As Gene said, self-driving cars will be able to scan thousands times more and capture thousands times more data than static scanners just by driving down the road without even knowing. So one car passes by, another car passes by, and with a matter of minutes or hours, that model of the road and current conditions will be updating itself in a database. When there's the next car going by and there's construction ahead, they will know that there's cones, there's workers, there's trucks, and they will know there might be danger they can avoid, just because this mesh effect and how everything is going to be communicating together. And before we get there, and I'm very excited for it myself, but still a few years away, NavVis decided, how do we speed up the cost of capture? So we have released our card-based systems, and they were good, they weren't great, let's be honest, but the real breakthrough in dynamic mapping came in 2020, about 18 months ago, with the release of VLX. It was the first mobile/wearable scanner to scan indoors and outdoors that could compete head-to-head with static scanners. And it's not about competing purely with static scanners. It's about using the right tool for the right job. And sometimes it means using more than one tool. So those of our clients who know and can pick the tool depending on a project, they are the ones who have the most success. VLX is the perfect scanner for architecture and construction. not so much for high-grade engineering work. For that, you should bring a high-precision static scanner. The same way as you wouldn't dig a dish with a spoon, you don't need to bring an engineering-grade scanner to create 2D drawings of a building, or a digital twin, or as-builds, or basic LOD 200 to 50 BIM model. So before we show you a little bit more how dynamic scanning takes place, a few facts of our flagship product, the VLX. As I mentioned before, this is the first mobile scanner that achieved quarter-inch accuracy. For most of the projects, the construction companies, I was lucky enough to talk to a lot of AEC folks in Washington, D.C. Last night, and one of the events we had, and they say most of their projects are within a quarter-inch spec, because you cannot really install drywall with 1/16 inch of spec. If you're prefabricating complex MEP systems to go above the ceiling with another systems, then you bring another tool. But for day-to-day activities, let's call it like this, there's a certain level of accuracy and of data quality that is enough to probably satisfy 80 or 90% of those workflows. So in order for the dynamic tool to be adopted, it needs to be good enough. And in that case, data quality, data accuracy needs to be versatile enough. So you can bring it indoors, outdoors. You can climb staircases with it. You can go to all sorts of different places that you don't really need to have supplementary scanners unless it's very extreme conditions, like, I don't know, scanning a facade of a skyscraper in Manhattan or scanning a bridge. But for most day-to-day use, there needs to be one tool that can be pretty much taken anywhere where a human can fit. And then finally, the scanner should be robust, because if we're talking about dynamic scanning, it's high volume of scanning in a short amount of time, which means that you are moving. You're moving through the space. You are really capturing those square meters, square feet. And sometimes the device just bangs into things, because when you go to a construction site or a mechanical space, you may hit some units. So you cannot have a device that is fragile. If a drop of water comes on it, it stops working. If it's cold outside, it doesn't work. If it rains outside, it doesn't work. You need to have a device that is a workhorse that you can bring anywhere, from pristine clean rooms in big pharma companies to oil and gas refineries that are not so clean. So talking about our flagship product and how we address the need for dynamic scanning and increasing the speed of capture, lowering the cost. As with any industry, we want to buy better cars for less. We want to get faster internet for less. We want to get, every new technology, people have an expectation that new generation is going to make things more economically feasible. With the VLX, our approach was you shouldn't sacrifice data quality and data accuracy for speed. And that's why research behind VLX started in 2009. We have a lot of smart folks at our headquarters in Munich. They spent probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of man hours figuring it out. And finally, we were proud to release a SLAM that just doesn't break. You can take it anywhere you want. It works. And as I mentioned, the device is splash-proof or waterproof, whatever the IP42 stands for, meaning that if you're going to a construction site and water spills on you or rain pushes you outside, it will not get damaged. And you can take photos and panoramic images in any conditions. So to show how we believe that the new school looks against how the new workflows look against all the workflows. And one doesn't exclude another, as I mentioned. We'll talk about some of our more successful clients are using multiple scanners on the same job. But if you're talking about bread and butter for most folks in the 3D scanning, that bread and butter is capturing as-builts, existing conditions, virtual walkthroughs, and then turning the data into 3D CAD drawings, 3D Revit models, and similar deliverables. In order to do construction verification, you need to do high volume of scanning. So bringing a scanner that can capture 30 or 40,000 square feet a day, if you're going through a large project, it will take you a whole week. By the time you get to office, process data, and have a point cloud, that construction site has already changed. We're talking about the factory and the other large building. The issue is we need to scan faster and we need to get data sooner, especially with COVID pushing a lot of mobile workflows. A lot of folks just don't want to go to the factory. They want to go to the building, they want to do their project site. So they would prefer to have somebody there that's going to go capture the data, and then multiple stakeholders located in multiple geographical regions can have data tomorrow. And we'll talk about it, how NavVis figure out that we can scan infinitely large building, process it overnight, and have it delivered next day. There's no building on Earth that NavVis cloud processing cannot process within things like 12 or 16 hours for the biggest data sets. And the example that you see right now is just our office in Munich, Germany, and how was one point cloud captured with NavVis VLX, and another point cloud captured with a static scanner. And then when you look at the final deliverable, the trade-off and the stigma that people had against mobile scanning, and it's valid, because M3, when I started working with NavVis, wasn't that great. We were promising 2-centimeter accuracy at best, but within 5 years, things have changed. Things have changed for better on the mobile scanning front. And mobile scanning is experiencing hypergrowth. As any technology, when we look at dial-up, broadband, fiber, or landline, cell phones, smartphones, it starts slow. It needs its time to gather potential energy, and then finally can release it out there when the foundations and everything is built the right way. We've been taking our time with NavVis developing the technology, and right now we have something that we are proud of. As I mentioned, it's not behind static scanners. And I remember those days. So a lot of people might not even realize that so much has changed in the mobile scanning world, and it's not just NavVis. There's other companies that also improved tremendously over the past 3 or 5 years. So for those who looked at mobile scanners before and weren't happy, I believe 2022 is a great year to take another look and see how everything has improved. Because if you draw a graph, static scanners are great, but they're in their mature stage. They don't really grow as far. There's not that much improvement. Mobile scanners, when you look at the curve, instead of flattening, it's actually skyrocketing. Mentioned before, what type of data can you expect from a mobile scanner? The screenshots you see right now, looking from far away, if you lean away from your screen, you might not be so sure if this is a photo or a point cloud. That's how well that filtering works. In any environment that you take it, just literally walking in front of the building, it captures everything around itself, because the SLAM every year gets better and better. The data capture gets faster, the processing gets faster. Taking it to complex indoor locations like mechanical rooms, tight spaces, not a problem anymore. And doing dynamic continuous capture allows you to see all those nooks and crannies from hundreds of different angles. So you as an operator don't have to place extra placements, and each placement taking 3 minutes of your life. You just do a bunch of figure eights and loops, and you capture everything. So your data is much more complete in this type of environment, like refineries, process industry, chemical plants. 1 to 10 times savings, it's even greater. Probably 1 to 20, maybe even 1 to 30 in certain conditions, because you just walk and you get everything covered as you just turn and look things around. Again, here another screenshot of the point cloud, and we are always proud to show our data off. It took us a while to get there. So if anyone is interested, we have definitely way more examples we can show. Cannot show everything in a short presentation right here. As mentioned before, there's not one tool that can do it all. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, we'll see. If somebody tells you that they have this magical tool that comes from Harry Potter or Star Wars, and they can do everything that you like, they're just trying to get their commission. VLX itself will not scan every project that you have. It's all about applying different tools and connecting it together. That's why we build integrations for our scanner, where you can bring a total station or a GPS on a stick. You can establish survey control, and then you can physically touch each one of those points with a little arrow on the bottom of VLX. And then you feed our software your coordinates from a total station, and you're telling our software, I expect VLX is wrong. I want you to override any error that VLX accumulated and adjust and more of the point clouds to the coordinates I'm feeding it right now, because those coordinates are correct. And then our software will listen and will improve the point cloud. You can also get survey control and create spine of projects for multi-story buildings by scanning a central staircase with a high precision static scanner. And all you need to do is you need to put 3 checkerboards on every floor that you can see from the staircase, from the landing or the area, and then merge data together and have both scanners work in the same coordinate system. And with drones, obviously some scanners on the roof, they sometimes work, they sometimes don't. Every SLAM-based scanner needs geometry and features. If you're scanning a massive roof at a massive supermarket or a warehouse, there might be no features. And then maybe you should fly a drone. You should scan it this way and merge data together. For those who can combine all the tools and figure out that the secret sauce is not putting one against each other, but making them work together, those are the ones who are the most successful. Talking about dynamic scanning, it doesn't end only in the field. We believe the dynamic process needs to be all the way from A to Z. So yes, we speed up the field work, we speed up the data acquisition. Instead of being in a field for a week, you can cover and scan the same area within a day. And at the end of the day, if you're scanning a building or a site in 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute, you're still achieving the same success, which is capturing the building. I really hope that in finite amount of years, we will have scanners that will be just micro drones. You open a suitcase, they fly out, scan the building, kind of like in the movies, and they create a point cloud for you. Because for the operator, the shorter you're on site, the more efficient you are doing other things. This is where we lead to the next step, which is NavVis cloud process. Power of the cloud definitely can help scale anything and make any task easier and faster. I can go and I can scan Empire State Building in a few days. I can scan a World Trade Center in another few days, and I can drop all 200 floors to our processing software, and I can process them all as fast as one floor. That's the beauty of the cloud, that it can spin up to 1,000 virtual machines, and each virtual server will take one data set and will process it independently from each other. Local processing, obviously for some security concerns, might need to be required on a project, but more and more, even government and defense clients are moving to the cloud, that the time savings, as Paul said, time is money, meaning that the cost of using the cloud, yes, somebody has to pay Google or Amazon or Microsoft or other ones for their clouds, but at the end of the day, compute time is typically much more affordable than employee time. And especially in this economy where there's not enough people and too much work, making them more efficient is the key to making them happy and making them proud of what they do. So faster scanning, faster processing, faster delivery of the data, and then seamless export to other tools. And we export our data in all open source formats. You can bring them to any third-party tool on the market. And that's as much as I wanted to give today as an overview of what we believe is next step in getting the industry forward by making it more efficient. I am joining a panel this afternoon with some of the other great attendees that I consider my mentors, because they have been in the industry for a while, much longer than me. It's definitely a great help for me that I've been talking to them for years and learning a lot from them. I will have a couple of interesting examples. I didn't show them today, but some construction sites, some bridge, maybe a chemical unit, of the areas where you just show up with a mobile scanner and you scan really quick and you get terrific data. I will save it for the panel, but that's as much as I have to show today. So back to you, Gene and Jonathan.
Hi, Marek. Thanks so much for that. So the first question what is the software used to display the NavVis VLX point cloud?
So I think the question is about the photos and doing the screenshots, right? So we have our own web viewer, which is called NavVis Ivion, and it can display photographic virtual walkthroughs as well as point clouds. So VLX combines two devices into one. It's a 360 camera, because there's actually 4 cameras around it, which takes photos and then matches them with the point cloud. So the software is called NavVis Ivion, and you can use it as virtual walkthroughs, like Google Street View for your building, and any way you call it, that's how it works.
Great, thank you. There's another question here from attendees. I think he must be referring to the images that he's seeing. Is this colorized, or does the instrument record color?
So the laser itself never records any color. We use photos. So every time you take a photo, the device records the XYZ location and orientation of that photo. And then in post-processing, our software figures out how to do, ray tracing, so projection of that photo against the point cloud to colorize the point cloud. That's the way why our point clouds are just so vivid and so crisp, because each location, each point uses more than one photo. So taking photo takes split second. It's like going with a clicker, going click, click, click. You don't have to wait for another placement of the device. It's a mobile scanner, so the photos are instantaneous. And it takes a few photos to develop colorization for each point. That's why the colors are just come so true to life.
Thank you very much. There's a question in here from Vincent. Considering the accuracy of mobile laser scanners, such as Velodyne scanners you are using, and the accuracy of SLAM, how can the final cloud be used for generating millimeter accuracy BIM?
How many millimeter was their question?
Because he says, how can the final cloud be used for generating millimeter accuracy for BIM?
So the answer is you cannot create a millimeter accurate BIM, and you cannot do it with even the best static scanner on the market, because there are some static scanner companies that promise 1 millimeter accuracy, but how do you really measure it? If the wall behind me is black or white, or it's a sunny day, rainy day, or cold day, warm day, it's everything site specific. So getting into this stuff, if I change the color of my walls, it's going to reflect differently. So we never promise such low accuracy. We promise 1/4 inch, which is 6 millimeter accuracy. And everything is site specific. And then you have an error of a person creating BIM as well, because it depends where do they click to put a wall, or put a valve, or put anything else out there. And that's why a lot of folks still have a perception that we really need a 1 millimeter BIM, but there's a lot of clients out there that cannot execute such thing, or if you want to do it, it's just going to cost so much that it's probably cost prohibitive to invest so much resources to get something that nobody can really follow. Because like no construction worker on site can put studs in a sheetrock anything better than a 1/4 inch, because they will just drill holes there, they will just put it in, and the screw will not go all the way, and you already have 2 millimeters difference. So the workflow for us is the same as another scanner, but mobile scanners are still a little bit less accurate.
Great. Another question from the attendees. Is there an alternative to the cloud for data processing?
Yeah, so this is where we started. We have local processing. We are a cloud first company, and most of our clients just prefer cloud because it's easier and faster to use. The learning curve is much lower. But if you really want to, if you work with the government, the military, or any other projects, you can also buy a local license, have a workstation under your desk, and process data there. I would say most of our clients are cloud.
Great. So if somebody was interested in learning more about the technology, is there a way to get their hands on it or to test it out?
Yep. So NavVis is a company headquartered in Munich, Germany. I work in our New York City office. We also have a Los Angeles office, and we have a lot of colleagues around the country who are remote. We are looking to get a reseller in Canada, hopefully soon. So we have presence globally in North America, in Europe, in China, Southeast Asia. We have offices and we have resellers. We do have a reseller in Morocco and South Africa, some other regions that I personally never interact with. So we have hundreds of scanners globally. If somebody is interested to get a hands-on experience, they just have to go to our website or contact one of us. And then based on their geographical location, we'll figure out what is the best way to pick a VLX for a spin.
Great. Thank you very much. Is there something that you'd like to share about the scanner that you think is surprises? Like what I see is just something that's going to continue to increase in value in terms of its use in industry. What types of questions do you mostly get about the unit and using it for the first time? Like, does it take a lot of training to be able to get it up and running?
That's a very good question. And as I mentioned, especially with this economy, we can see a lot of our clients have very big turnout of people leaving, new people coming, they're growing really fast. So they want to get people and get them scanning as soon as possible. The beauty of the VLX that anyone that knows anything about buildings or scanning can pick up scanning in a matter of minutes. When we go to trade shows, we put the VLX on people's shoulders. At first, they're afraid because we joke around, it looks like a Star Wars weapon, another laser scanner. They put it on, and all of a sudden they see a screen that builds a 2D floor plan of what they're scanning. So they realize they can see the bird eye view of the entire area that they're scanning, and the area they scan turns blue whenever they click a photo, it puts a bubble on the floor plan. So you can have anyone scanning, from a student intern to a very experienced professional. Obviously, there's some other stuff you have to pay attention when you're on site, like what is important on site. Do you want to see beams, columns, MEP, and other installations? But the idea of just going and scanning a building, the learning curve is so low. Our official training is 12 hours. That's why folks like this new technology, because it's the same way as I bring it up. And years ago, thanks to my wife, I used to be a semi-professional Instagram husband. I bought a big Nikon camera with a nice lens. I was supposed to take pictures of her. I failed big time. But right now, the iPhone takes much better photos than I could ever take with this Nikon after hours of learning. We took the same principle that we put everything in automatic mode and just go collects data. And then in processing, you can choose parameters to change the data, but everything is captured. So you go there, you capture everything, and then you filter the data and make it better later. So if you do a color, non-color, everything, it doesn't affect the capture. It affects the processing. You don't have to colorize point cloud, it's going to process it faster, but you still take photos. So if in case you need them, you're not doubling the time of scan.
Great. And that's very exciting. You're looking for a reseller in Canada. We've got the NavVis sponsor information on the conference website. What's the best way for people to contact you? Is it email? Is it your website? What works best?
If they go to the website, there's a contact button. They can always email sales@navvis.com. We also are very happy to connect with folks on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to build a network. Anyone who's interested, I'm very happy to talk to, even if they're not in my region. I will assign them to folks who might be able to help them.
Okay, well, that takes us to the break. Marek, thank you so much. And thank you again for being our platinum sponsor and allowing us to make this open and free for everyone in the sector.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Pleasure to be here.